My name is Corey Williams, and I'm the president of Unity Life Group based right out of here out of St. Louis, Missouri. And I am super, super excited to talk to our guest today, Mr. Nick Ray out of El Dorado, Arkansas. Nick has been with the company for a long time, very successful organization. And I'm blessed to be able to talk to him today and for you to be able to find out a little bit more about Nick and his organization and what OMG is doing here at Lincoln Heritage. So, Nick, how you doing, my man?
Man, doing well, man. How about yourself?
I'm great, man. If I was any better, there'd need to be two of me, but appreciate you being on today, and get a little applause there. But Nick, I'm gonna jump right into this thing. I've had the good fortune of being at Lincoln for about a year and a half now, and I know there's been some moving around, which is could be usually is a good thing, right? And you guys have recently transitioned over to Memorial Gardens and everything, and I can tell you it was a lot of fun here before, but you and Steve and a couple of other people, Adrian and Brandon, a lot of people have transitioned over here, and it's just brought some new life to the to Memorial Gardens. It's been a lot of fun, a lot of good fun, healthy competition. I know we're eating you guys' dust most days, but we're going to try to catch up to you and make it competitive. So, Nick, you're out of El Dorado, right? El Dorado, Arkansas.
That is correct. Yes, sir.
So what brought you to Lincoln?
Well, it was a friend, actually. I had a friend that I went to church with for several years. Coincidentally, his name was Marty Rawson. And he and I were good friends. I actually knew Marty before he became our regional director here at Rawson Phillips Group. And he was doing insurance with other companies. I was in the gas station business, a family-owned business. We had a couple of gas stations and a Subway franchise that was located inside of one of the businesses. And he and I both, being business-minded people, it was a natural friendship, But the way that I came into this was in around 2012. Really, if you go back to 2011, between just bad decisions, not knowing what I was doing, and a rough economy, my businesses were trending downward. And I knew that, I was going to have to start looking for something else to do. In other words, the businesses were failing. But I had been self-employed for a long time. I don't move around much. I've had basically 3 jobs in my life. I started working at McDonald's out of high school. I went into the family business after I graduated from college, and then this. So I'm used to stability, but I really, really liked being self-employed. I'd been self-employed at that point for over 17 years. And I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do next, but I know what I didn't want to do. I didn't want to have to punch a clock. Right. I didn't want to work for someone else. So Marty, being a good friend of mine, we were friends actually before he started here. And I guess he had been doing this for a little over 5 years at that point in 2012. And I watched him, move into a nicer home, buy nicer vehicles, going on vacations, and he was obviously doing better than I was. So the proof was there, in the opportunity, because I saw it firsthand. And he had, along the way, how a good recruiter does, they're always recruiting, right?
Right.
We're together and he's like, hey man, check out this deposit I got in my account. Or man, look at this right here, man, you'd be great at this, and he was planting those seeds. But the timing wasn't right until it was. And so he was my first call when I knew that I was going to have to do something else. He was my first call. I said, hey, man, I think I'm ready. What do I need to do? And he gave me very good instructions. Hey, get your insurance license. And then, I'll take you under my wing. I'll show you what to do. And then the rest is history. So I came on under it was a personal friendship. And, he cared enough about me to say, hey, man, you deserve better. And I want to see you do well, and I want to see you win. And so he invited me into the opportunity, and here I am.
It's amazing. And I know you said you met him at church, which is something very important to me. It's good to have good friends, right? And
yes, absolutely.
Doing extremely well. Organization that's doing a million, sometimes over $1 million a month. And
that's correct.
It's interesting. We were talking about, or you just mentioned, punching a clock and the 9 to 5 and those kind of things. You would never. Any of us would never have gotten to the point that, or have an opportunity to get to the point where Marty is. And here at Lincoln, and I think insurance in general, but Lincoln does it very, very well. I think we do a great job of it, being able to come here and being able to, first of all, help people, but being very heavily rewarded for helping people, and then building that residual as well. So Nick, how long were you here? You've been here how many years now?
Well, I'm 13 years and I'm working on 14. September of this year, 2026, will be 14 years.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And is this the only insurance company you've ever been at?
That's right. Yeah. When I got my insurance license, I immediately got appointed with Lincoln, and learned a lot about the industry, and I've interviewed a lot of people, through recruiting, and learned a lot about the industry. It's like an abyss.
Yeah.
There's so many different things you can do, and I've had opportunities to do other things, and
Sure.
good opportunities. But hey, when you find the right thing that you love to do, you stick with it because there's power in focus.
Absolutely. And it doesn't even seem like work most days. I know I interview a lot of
That's
people
right.
like you do as well. And I don't even want to make this statement, but there's so much confusion out there in our industry. And you have people that they've gone to other organizations, and there's some good ones out there too.
Yeah.
They've gone to other organizations and they've just been beat to death. I mean, they're beat up, they've been lied to, they've been disrespected. They're trying to call on family and friends. They walk in the door, their first couple of days, they're asked to recruit, and we don't do any of that, which is amazing.
That's right.
So you've been here for a long time, but you started as an agent, right? Tell me about your experience as an agent. I know the training has evolved and gotten better.
Sure.
But
Sure.
how did you start as an agent and then when did the switch kind of come on to start OMG?
Well, being a business owner and having employees and things of that nature, owning a business is something that I've always had in my blood. And so I came in with a vision of wanting to be able to build and do that. But not everybody does, but I did.
Right.
So, coming in, that was my goal. Also, having Marty as my mentor, he was building a big organization, that helped, no doubt about it. But my first few months, I always tell people this when they're coming in. I'm like, hey, everybody's journey looks different. I mean, I've seen people come in their first month, knock it out of the park. I've seen people come in and struggle. I was one of those. I was a struggle at first. My first few months were a little rough. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one was the transition, because when you own a business previously, it's not like quitting a job that you just walk away from and forget about it. There's a little bit of a transition period while I'm exiting this business and coming into this one. So I had about a 3-month window there where I was kind of, I guess you could say, part-time, doing, getting out of this, getting into this. So that didn't help. The other thing is, when you're trainers, especially Marty, he had been doing insurance for a long time. I mean, he'd been with Lincoln for about 5 years, but he had been doing it a while. And, you can't look at somebody that's been in the business for 15, heck, even 5 years.
Day one versus
think,
day 5, right?
You're right. And think you're just going to do it. It's going to come as natural. Well, I made that mistake. I mean, he made it look a little easier than it was for me. Did a great job training me, but it's still, when you get out there by yourself, like Mike Tyson says, everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the face, right? So I got punched in the face a lot, and and it was a little bit of a struggle because I wasn't completely focused. But when I got focused, and I really realized what I had, and that came after some hard conversations with Marty, and also some hard conversations that I had with myself of, hey, if you're going to do this, you got to go all in. You got to burn the ships. You got to go all in. And so I became coachable. I started listening. I started watching. I started working on personal development, reading books, watching, Google, especially. It's different now. We have AI now, right? ChatGPT.
Yeah.
But I went on Google, man, YouTube became my university. And man, I said, I've got to learn how to sell, because it's an art. And over a period of time, I would say after about 6 months into it, I had my first really, really good month. And at that point, I felt like, hey, I'm comfortable enough now to where I can take someone out. And the opportunity came to me that way. It was, hey, Nick, we're bringing people in. We can only train so many people. You feel like, I feel like you know what you're doing. Would you mind letting so-and-so get in the car with you and just shadow you around? I said, yes, because it gets lonely out there when you're by yourself, right?
Fun to have somebody with you.
So the way I became a manager, it was very organic. I wasn't pressured. I was just offered to let someone ride with me and shadow me. And, from the experience that I had up to that point, I was able to share, here's what my journeys looked like. And here's some things I wished I would have known on day one that I didn't, that I shared. And so that's how that process started,
That's awesome. Just evolved from there. So, Lincoln, this is going to be an interesting question I ask you, because a lot of the times people that have been in this industry as long as you have, I've represented multiple companies. I've been a senior manager. I've been a director. I've been a regional director. I've been a market director. I've owned my own agencies. I've been a broker, property and casualty, home, like all of it, right? somebody
Mhm.
like yourself that has jumped into this industry and obviously has a stranglehold on it, and congratulations to you, by the way. We're going to
Yeah,
catch you
thank
though,
you.
I promise you. But that has been in this industry for approaching a decade and a half. Why Lincoln? Why have you continued to stay here? Because you're a sharp guy.
Mhm.
You present yourself well. I've had an opportunity to talk to you, not at this level. You're somebody that people want to be in their organization. I know you've had offers before. Why stay
Sure.
at Lincoln? Why continue to build here?
That's a great question, and that answer has evolved over time. In the beginning, it was just loyalty to the person that brought me in the business,
Right.
because I didn't know anything really about Lincoln Heritage or the industry. I had no reference point. I just knew, hey, this is a simple product. If this friend of mine trusts him, I trust him. I did love the Funeral Consumer Guardian Society.
Yeah.
The
One of my
fact that we
favorite
had
things.
something, yes, and I really bought into that. But in the beginning, it was more or less I was just repeating what I was taught. And then I remember the Funeral Consumer Guardian Society, they go around once a year and they come into your region and they hold a meeting where
Yeah.
it's basically like a state of the company meeting. And then also, if you're not talking about this, you should be.
Right.
And I would say at that point, that was like the first checkpoint of where I really bought in. And I thought, up to this point, I've just been basically repeating back what I was told, hoping that what I was telling was accurate. But when I got into that meeting and the people that run that organization were giving testimonies and showing research, I thought, wow, this is amazing. So that made me really want to get out and tell people about it because I believed in it. So that evolved there. Well, then I would say in 2015, my mother-in-law passed away well, actually let me back up. 2013, she passed away, but it was in 2015 where we settled the claim. I'm going to repeat that. She passed away in 2013. In 2015, we settled the claim,
This is
not
a
with Lincoln
final expense
Heritage.
claim.
It was a final expense claim, not with Lincoln Heritage. It was with a different company. I won't
Understood.
name them, but everybody knows who they are. I promise. They're
I
one of the
already know
big
what you're
boys.
talking about.
Yes. And she was killed in a car accident. She died in June of 2013, but it was November of 2013 before they settled the actual policy amount. I think it was like $15,000, but she died in a car accident and she had an accidental death rider that paid $300,000. Well, it took 2015. It took getting a lawyer, going through the insurance department to get this company to do that. And when you would try to call into their offices to get answers or get responses, I mean, if you were even able to talk to anyone, you got the runaround and it was send this document, send that document. And like I said, it wasn't until we got the insurance department involved that they finally paid the money out. And that was another thing where I realized, hey, not all companies are created equal.
That's
And you cannot go off of the name just because they're on the stock market and publicly traded doesn't mean anything. Okay, Lincoln's a mom
might
and
even be
pop.
worse, right?
Well, in my experience, it has been.
Yeah.
Lincoln is a mom and pop. They're a very large mom and pop, but they still run it on the original values of paying claims fast and taking care of agents, and that hasn't changed. And so I've had some experiences with some of my clients over the years where they have passed away, and there's just no comparison to how Lincoln settles claims versus some of these other companies. And I know there's other good companies. Lincoln's not the only great company
Right.
out there, but I just knew that they're not all equal. And I know that this company, I can speak firsthand. They do what they say they're going to do, and they do it as well or better than anyone else. And when you're representing, a company and you're sitting with the family and you're telling them, hey, this is going to happen or that's going to happen. I knew that with Lincoln Heritage that I could go to bed at night knowing that as long as they were honest to me and I was honest to them, Lincoln was going to pay the claim. And, I'm good with that because that's what we do at the end of the day. I mean, if they don't pay out, what have we accomplished,
Me and one of our newer agents, we went into a funeral home the other day and we're talking to people and we went in, I showed our badge and the lady's like, oh, I have Lincoln. My mom has Lincoln. My grandma has Lincoln. And she's like, you guys are a great company. As a matter of fact, about 4 or 5 weeks ago, somebody passed away and had Lincoln. And she said, we love working with you guys. So it made the job that much easier. And it puts a smile on your face to know that you're representing a company. And I know what company you're talking about with the claim. I had something very
Yeah.
similar with that company a couple of years ago. And
Mhm.
it's awesome to know that you're standing shoulder to shoulder with an organization that was built, like you said, mom and pop, even though we're a $11
Mhm.
billion debt-free company.
Yeah, that's right.
It's
That's right.
awesome to know that when somebody passes away, we're going to pay the claim. It's awesome to know that
Yeah.
when somebody passes away, they call that 800 number and FCGS is going to take care of them. That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, by the way.
Yes.
Nick, I know you're in El Dorado, and I know we have our meetings and stuff all the time, and we're all talking about where
Mhm.
we're moving and where we're positioning. Where are you growing at right now? And where are your
Mhm.
intentions? What are you guys trying to do this year for somebody that's looking
Yeah.
for opportunities?
Opportunities. So we're really trying to grow the state of Arkansas. There's so much opportunity in Little Rock. There's so much opportunity in Northwest Arkansas. There's so much opportunity around Jonesboro, Texarkana. I mean, everywhere in between. If you're in the state of Arkansas, there are way more families to help than there are people to help them.
Right.
You think about it. Everybody in the state of Arkansas is going to pass away at some point. We just don't know when, we don't know how, but we know it's going to happen, including me. And when that happens, immediately a funeral home is involved, and they need to be paid for their services ahead of time. You've got to have a settlement quickly, and most people just don't. They either don't have enough or they don't have any. So the need is there. So we're really trying to grow in that area, but we also work in other states. We service Oklahoma, we service Missouri, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Kansas, so any of those states, but in Arkansas specifically right now, if you're looking for a great career, if you like helping people, we need the help. So we're looking for, but we're not looking for warm bodies. We're
Right.
looking for the right people,
Nick, what's the best way for them? I know you have a website and obviously a contact
Yeah.
number. Well, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
You can go to the website, which is myomg.life, and there's a place for you to fill out an application. Of course, you can call me direct at my cell phone number, 870-310-7690. You can contact Lincoln Heritage, the company itself, the corporate office, and they will put you in contact with me. But yes, any of those would work. Or you can go to Facebook, find me on there as well under my name, Nick Ray. So
absolutely. Nick, last question I'll ask you. And again, this has been amazing. It's awesome to be able to, because we haven't spoken like this before, to find out more about your story and what you guys are doing. The last question I would ask you how you got here to Lincoln and why Lincoln. Why should someone work with OMG and work with Nick?
Yeah. Well, I would say that number one is because I'm going to shoot you straight. This industry has a stigma to it. Okay. And I'll be the first one to sit here and tell you that not everybody, the Lincoln Heritage is not that I'm not a good fit for everyone,
Right.
clients or agents, either one. There's been many clients where I've said, hey, this is not going to be the right fit for you, or agents that have come and I've said, hey, this is not going to be the right organization for you. So I'm going to shoot you straight, and I'm going to be honest with you, number one. And number two is that if you will come in and you will give 100% effort, if you're coachable, teachable, trainable, you care about helping people, you want to get better, you want to grow, you want to stretch yourself, I will go above and beyond to try to help you do that, because I think I enjoy seeing other people win, more than myself, and I know that gets thrown out there a lot, but I just really, really do, because when you're alone, I go back to when I started in the business, when I agreed to say, hey, I'd be willing to let somebody get in the car. Being out there on your own, even quote unquote winning on your own, that's no fun. It's no fun if you don't have anyone to share it with. And so I would say, if you're looking for transparency, if you're looking for an opportunity, a real opportunity, selling a real product to people who need it, if you're looking for a system that in training, so again, this business has that stigma to it. We're not in the business of setting people up to fail. We're in the business of helping people. Whatever you want to achieve, we're willing to help you get there, as long as you're willing to walk it with us.
Absolutely. Nick, well said. Again, if you're looking for an opportunity, you can message Nick with his contact information, or you can also text YES to 877-959-6797. Again, 877-959-6797. We also have a website, unitylifegroup.net. You can get any of us. We're happy to help you, talk to you about the opportunity. You never know, it might change your life. Nick, thank you for your time, brother. It's been awesome again to get to hear your story a little bit differently. And like I said, we're chasing you, and we'll hopefully we push you guys, continue to push you guys even further.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we appreciate it. If there's ever anything we can do, obviously, we're here in St. Louis, but if there's ever anything we can do to help you or your teammates, we're just a phone call away. Thanks for your time, Nick.
Yes, sir.
And
Likewise.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks.